What if I told you almost everything you believe about a good life is wrong? Not a little wrong, completely backwards. You've been told it's about money, status, the dream body, the perfect job. Wrong. That's the scam. And you've seen the proof. The rich guy who's still miserable, the influencer with 1 million followers crying herself to sleep, the perfect couple who secretly can't stand each other. Yet, we keep chasing the same things, thinking this time it'll work. But here's the twist. What makes life good is almost boringly simple. So simple most people ignore it their whole lives. By the end of this video, you'll know the real habits that build a life worth waking up for. Let's begin. Chapter 1. The boring secret of happiness. It's not hiding in cars, job titles, or six-packs. It's hiding in things so basic they sound dull. Sleep, movement, food, rhythm. I know. It doesn't sound exciting. Nobody's clicking on a book titled, "Go to bed and take a walk." But here's the thing. Decades of science keep proving that the boring basics beat almost everything else. Think about it. You can land a $200,000 job, but if you're running on 4 hours of sleep, every meeting feels like torture. You can have a closet full of designer clothes, but if you live on energy drinks and fast food, you still feel like trash by Wednesday. The boring truth is this. The basics are what actually make you feel alive. The body runs the mind, and when your body's wrecked, even your dream life feels like a nightmare. A friend of mine once bragged that he was working 80-hour weeks. Grind mode, no days off, I'll sleep when I'm dead. Guess what? He almost got his wish. His body literally collapsed one day at the office. Paramedics, hospital. And you know what the doctor said? Not some magical diagnosis, not a rare disease. He just looked at him and said, "You need to rest, man. You need to eat food that isn't from a drive-thru." That's the life advice nobody wants to hear, but it's the only advice that actually works. Why this matters? Because your brain, this squishy 3-pound supercomputer, depends on sleep, oxygen, and nutrients. Like a phone depends on charging. Miss one night of deep sleep, and it's like trying to run a new iPhone on 10% battery all day. Sure, it turns on, but every app lags, every task feels harder, and eventually, blackout. And yet, people treat the basics like optional. They'd rather buy supplements with names that sound like alien chemicals than just go for a walk. Here's the twist. We already know this stuff. You've probably said it yourself. I should get more sleep. I should drink more water. I should hit the gym. But knowing isn't doing. And that's why the basics are still the biggest secret, because only a tiny percentage of people actually live them, while the rest just keep scrolling motivational quotes at 3 a.m. And if you think, okay, fine, I'll fix my sleep and maybe jog a little, then my life will be good? Not so fast. Because even if you master the basics, you can still wreck your life by surrounding yourself with the wrong people. And in the next part, I'll show you why relationships predict your lifespan more than your cholesterol. So don't grab popcorn. Don't get comfy. Let's move on. Chapter 2. Stop collecting. Start connecting. Here's something wild most people don't realize. Your relationships predict how long you'll live, better than your cholesterol levels. Yeah, really. Harvard did this study that ran for 75 years, one of the longest in history. They tracked people's health, wealth, habits, and after decades of data, do you know what stood out? It wasn't diet, it wasn't money, it wasn't even genetics. It was this: the quality of your relationships. But here's the problem. Most people confuse collecting people with connection. You've seen it. Thousands of followers, hundreds of friends, and yet, lonelier than ever. The "I know everyone" dude at a party who shakes 100 hands, but has nobody he could call at 2 a.m. if his car broke down. That's not connection. That's collecting. It's like hoarding, except instead of old newspapers, you're piling up shallow contacts. Real connection is stupidly simple. It's not about impressing people. It's about being known, like actually letting people see you. That one friend who notices when your "I'm fine" text doesn't sound fine. The coworker who actually asks how you are instead of just "got those files?" Those moments add up. They don't just make life better. They literally keep you alive. Loneliness, according to multiple studies, is as dangerous as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. I once met a guy at a networking event who couldn't stop pitching himself. Every sentence started with, "I'm working on this big project," or "I know this important person." You know what happened? People started backing away like he was handing out flyers for a pyramid scheme. Meanwhile, the quietest woman in the room, she asked 2 questions, genuine, curious questions, and suddenly everyone wanted to talk to her. That's the power of connection. People don't remember how shiny you looked. They remember how you made them feel. So how do you stop collecting and start connecting? Start small. Ask better questions. Listen like you actually care. And here's the hardest part. Let yourself be seen. Not the highlight reel, the real you. Because pretending is exhausting. And the right people, the ones who matter, connect with your honesty, not your performance. But even if you figure out connection, there's a bigger problem waiting. Because life itself will throw chaos at you. Plans exploding, people disappointing you, stuff going sideways. And in the next part, I'll show you the one mindset shift that flips chaos into clarity. The same trick fighter pilots use when their cockpit fills with smoke. Chapter 3. The Calm Choice. Here's a truth most people never admit. A good life isn't built on how much you stack up. It's built on what you cut out. Cutting out the noise, cutting out knee-jerk reactions, cutting out the chaos you let live rent-free in your head. Think about it. How many times has something tiny wrecked your whole day? You spill coffee on your shirt in the morning. Suddenly you're convinced the day's cursed. Your phone dies, and now you're pacing like you've lost oxygen. Or one snarky comment online loops in your brain until midnight. Here's the catch. It's rarely the thing itself. It's the story we build around it. We turn pebbles into avalanches. And here's the paradox. The calmer you are, the more control you hold. The faster and louder you react, the less power you have. And I'm not talking about fake Zen mode where you pretend nothing touches you. That's acting. What I mean is this. Good lives are built on good responses. And good responses start with one thing: space. That 1 second between what happens and what you decide. That's the difference between snapping at your partner and wrecking the night, or taking a breath and actually solving the problem. It's the difference between firing off a rage tweet you'll regret, or shrugging and keeping your peace. Here's a trick. See yourself as the thermostat, not the smoke alarm. Smoke alarms go off at every tiny spark. A thermostat sets the temperature and the room adjusts. Calm people set the tone and others lean into it. And trust me, people notice. At every party, there's that one person who's steady, not loud, not trying too hard, just grounded. Somehow, everyone drifts toward them. That's not charisma, that's calm. Because life will always deliver broken plans, awkward texts, disappointments. Life is generous with those. You don't get to pick the chaos, but you do get to pick your center. And when you hold that center, your days run smoother. And the quality of your days is the quality of your life. Here's your mental sticky note. Most of life is neutral. It's your reaction that paints it red or blue. And if you're wondering, okay, but how do I actually keep my center when everything's falling apart? That's where most people get stuck. Because the next trap is even sneakier. The endless chase for happiness. And trust me, once you see why chasing happiness is the reason you can't catch it, you'll rethink what a good life actually means. Chapter 4. The Happiness Trap. Let's be real for a second. Most people spend their entire lives chasing happiness, and almost nobody actually catches it. Sounds harsh, right? But you saw it too. You tell yourself, once I get that promotion, then I'll finally be happy. Once I find the perfect partner, then everything will make sense. Or once I hit that magic income number, then I'll relax. And sure, you get the job, you find the partner, the money comes in. Feels amazing for a week, maybe a month. Then the buzz wears off, and suddenly, you're back on the treadmill, sprinting toward the next happiness goal. Psychologists even have a name for this: the hedonic treadmill. You keep running, but you don't actually get anywhere. That's why lottery winners often end up miserable. That's why celebrities with money, fame, and perfect lives still fall apart behind closed doors. Happiness hates being chased. It's like a cat. You try to grab it, it scratches and bolts. But sit still for a second, stop looking, and boom, it curls up in your lap. So what's the alternative? If happiness isn't a finish line, what is it? Here's the real answer. Happiness is a byproduct. It shows up when you're aligned, when you're moving towards something that matters, when you're giving more than you're taking, when you're genuinely connected to people who care. Think back to the times you were happiest in your own life. It probably wasn't the day you bought that shiny gadget. It was laughing with your best friend until your stomach hurt. It was building something from scratch and watching it actually work. It was pushing through a workout you thought you couldn't finish. See the pattern? Those moments weren't about chasing happiness. They were about doing things that mattered. And happiness just slipped in through the side door. Here's the kicker. Once you stop obsessing over happiness, life feels lighter. The pressure's gone. You're not constantly comparing yourself to some Instagram highlight reel. You're not stuck in "I'll be happy when" mode. Instead, you get to ask a better question. What makes today meaningful? That's the shift. A good life isn't about chasing happiness. It's about stacking meaningful days, one after another, like bricks, until you've built a life you don't need a vacation from. So the next time you catch yourself thinking, "I'll be happy when," stop, and instead ask, what small thing can I do today that actually matters? That's how you trick happiness into showing up, quietly, uninvited, but exactly when you need it. And if you're sitting there like, okay, but how do I even know what really matters when the world is just noise and distractions? That's where most people trip. Because the truth is, your brain itself is editing reality through hidden filters. And once you see them for what they are, you'll understand why a good life isn't about chasing anything. It's about seeing clearly. Chapter 5. The Invisible Filters. Here's a mind bender. You don't actually live in reality. At least, not the way you think you do. Every single day, your brain is running shortcuts, biases, and little tricks that edit the world before you even notice it. It's like walking around with Instagram filters permanently stuck on your eyes, except you don't realize they're on. Think about it. You get a short text, "We need to talk." Your stomach drops. Your brain fills in the blanks. "I screwed up. They're mad. This is bad." And then, turns out they just wanted to ask what movie to watch tonight. That panic, that story your brain wrote in 5 seconds flat, that wasn't reality. That was your filter. Here's another one. You buy a pair of bright white sneakers. Suddenly it feels like everyone in the city is wearing the same pair. It's not a sneaker conspiracy. It's your brain highlighting what it now thinks matters. Psychologists call this the frequency illusion. Now, why does this matter for building a good life. Because if you don't know your brain is editing reality, you'll build your choices and your future on illusions. Take money. Your brain whispers, more money equals more happiness. But decades of research show that once your basic needs are met, extra money barely moves the happiness needle. Yet people keep trading away sleep, family, and health for a few extra dollars because their filter insists it's worth it. Or look at relationships. Confirmation bias makes you laser focus on the 3 times your partner annoyed you, while ignoring the 30 times they quietly showed care. If you're blind to that filter, you can convince yourself the whole relationship is worse than it really is. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your brain isn't a truth machine. It's a survival machine. It didn't evolve to make you happy. It evolved to keep you alive. And sometimes that means tricking you. But awareness changes everything. The moment you stop and ask, wait, is this reality or just my filter talking? You regain a slice of control. That pause, that tiny gap, lets you see more clearly. And clarity is priceless for a good life. Because at the end of the day, a good life isn't just about what happens to you. It's about how you interpret what happens. 2 people can go through the same breakup. One says, my life is over. The other says, that hurt, but now I get to grow. Same event, completely different trajectory. And if you think your brain's filters are messing with you, wait until you see the trap almost everyone falls into next. It's not about how you see life. It's about what you agree to live with. And that brings us to one of the most underrated secrets of a good life. Chapter 6. The power of saying no. Here's a hard truth. Most people's lives don't fall apart because of one giant mistake. They fall apart from 1,000 tiny yeses. Yes to projects you don't care about. Yes to dinners you don't want to attend. Yes to subscriptions you'll never use. Each one seems harmless, but stack them up and suddenly your calendar, your wallet, and your mental energy are drowning in stuff you never actually wanted. We've been tricked into thinking a good life means being agreeable, always available, always polite, the person who never says no. But here's the paradox. Every unnecessary yes is stealing time and energy from the things that actually matter. Think of it like this. Imagine someone hands you a free donut every single morning. You say yes. Day after day, you eat it. Seems small, but a year later, you're sluggish, drained, wondering what happened. That's what saying yes to everything does. It fills your life with junk you didn't need. Now compare that to saying no. No isn't rejection. No is protection. Every no clears space for something better. Say no to the dinner you don't care about. You're saying yes to rest. Say no to the extra project. You're saying yes to focus. Say no to toxic people. You're saying yes to peace. And yeah, we all know this. But here's the real reason it's hard. Fear. Fear that people will think we're rude. Fear we'll miss out. Fear of letting someone down. But let me ask you, what's worse? A few seconds of awkwardness when you say no, or years of exhaustion because you never did? Here's the difference between people who just get by and people who actually live well. They guard their yes like treasure. They don't give it away cheap. They make sure every yes matches their values. So let's bring it back full circle. At the start, I told you that almost everything you believe about a good life is backwards. And now you've seen why. It's not the dream job, the perfect body, or the big bank account. It's the small, unsexy shifts. Protecting your sleep and your health, building real connections instead of chasing shallow ones, choosing calm over chaos, stacking meaningful days instead of chasing happiness, and guarding your yes so you actually have space for the life you want. That's it. That's the real cheat code. A good life isn't about adding more. It's about subtracting the junk and doubling down on what actually matters. And here's the funny part. You probably already knew half of this, but knowing isn't the same as living it. So here's my challenge. Don't just nod along and move on. Pick one of these shifts and actually try it this week, because a good life isn't built in theory. It's built in practice. If this gave you even one idea you're going to use, do me a favor. Hit that like button so more people see it. And if you want more straight-to-the-point breakdowns like this, subscribe and stick around. And I want to hear from you. What's one thing you're finally ready to cut out or say no to make your own life better? Drop it in the comments. Because at the end of the day, the good life isn't complicated. It's just rare because most people don't have the courage to actually live it.